I thought I was the only person that when it counts down is in the background being like, like the
The
music
same
isn't that
way.
bad. Yeah, usually it's like weird music, but I think that countdown music's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
So, welcome everybody back to this series that I'm doing, talking to 14 different fans, 14 different playoff teams for the NFL. And I'm super excited. I get to talk to David again. I actually get to talk to David whenever I want to because we're both Colorado Buffalo fans. So, there's that. But I like whenever we can pivot and talk NFL football and talk all things, NFL, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it, which that's their problem. So, welcome back, David. And we're here to talk all things Broncos. The Broncos did what it takes to make the playoffs. They annihilated Kansas City the last game of the season. I don't care who
Yes.
didn't
Just
and
leave it
who
at
did
that. We
play.
annihilated
Exactly.
Kansas
They
City.
annihilated. Exactly. I take the win. And so it was nice to see. So just so everybody knows, we are talking after we already know the matchups, who they're going to play, when they're going to play. A lot of the other episodes that we'll release, obviously we did not know. So that might skew some of our questions and conversations just because we already kind of know that. But other than that, tell us how you're feeling about the Broncos. How do you feel about the season? Are you excited? Like, I personally think you guys overachieved. I'm curious to know like what you think and how you feel.
Well, thanks again for having me on. It's a relief, and it's very exciting that, both of our teams don't suck. Like, they made the playoffs. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Not many people were thinking both the Broncos and Steelers would be in
Right.
the playoffs this year. I'm telling you. And so, man, I'm so happy. It's been since 2015 we've won double digit games. This is our first winning season since
Wow.
2016 when we went 9-7. So going 10-7 this year has been awesome. I think we've definitely overachieved. I mean, I felt like I was on the far side of things of like drinking the Kool-Aid this year really flawed when I predicted them to go 9-8. Just a one game improvement. I did have a little bit of money on them though, winning 10 games, so that
Oh,
hit,
good.
which was nice. Yeah, had a little parlay with that in the
Did you
Bucks.
also get in on the Travis Hunter one?
No, it's so dumb to
What
do.
were we thinking?
I know.
anyways.
It was tough, but I hit that parlay, which is nice. Now I can go buy a new mattress, and hopefully I can see the Broncos pull off a miracle. I mean, not to bring up something that's probably a sore subject for you, but I mean, if Tim Tebow can throw for 300 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers years ago, who's to say we can't get another victory in Buffalo?
It's like your own friends that just like, remember that one time? It's okay. I think that when I talked to the Packers fan, he said something about maybe I said something about the Super Bowl, whatever, and I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm so over it. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I will also say, I think you are the first person that I knew that I watched that I paid attention to because I did the thing in the summer with all the fans and I was like stalking all channels trying to get a fan. You're the only person I can remember that was on board with Bo Nix before you all drafted Bo Nix. Like you were like, that is the guy. Go get him. He works with Sean Peyton. He's going to work with his offense. We're going to be fine. We're going to be good. Our deep. Like you had it all drawn out. So how do you feel about that? You called your shot, and that was a very good shot to call.
Hey, a broken clock is right twice a day. That one does feel good. It does feel good to be on, because I started at this point last year before I fully got into it. I was on the train of anybody but Bo Nix. Like I hate Dan Lanning. I hate Oregon. Whatever. Check down Merchant, right? You believe all the narratives. But then as I got into it and I started looking at it, I was like, man, this guy actually has the ability to make a lot of the throws that Russell Wilson, who we were looking at last season, he just couldn't hit the same parts of the field that Sean Payton wants to do in his offense.
Exactly. Right.
That's really what it was all about. And then you start to learn about, hey, he was a varsity starter in the 8th grade. He was a true freshman starter. He's the son of a coach. He's somebody who was audibling in college and helping set predictions, like incredibly bright. His memory callback. So like all those things really matter to a coach like Sean Payton, who can be a little bit. Sometimes he can get a little too complicated, for his own good.
That's a good one.
Somebody with the mix of athleticism, play experience, somebody who's always been used to kind of being one of the younger guys in the locker room when he comes up to that level of next level of football. It just all kind of aligned to where it was going to be the ideal fit. And yeah, I wanted Bo Nix before the draft process. The draft hit, I was pounding the table for him. But I think this draft class, it might end up being one of the better ones we've seen in the last 20 years when it comes to the quarterback play. It's been a lot of fun to watch everybody play, and now Michael Penix, and we'll see whatever happens with JJ McCarthy. But it was also nice to see Williams finally overcome all the BS in Chicago and finally get a win at the end of the game.
I wonder what they're going to do with JJ McCarthy. I'm very interested to see. I think maybe it depends on how the Vikings do in the playoffs.
Well, but this is probably his best scenario because they were saying he had to probably need to sit for a little while.
Okay. Was that okay. The other thing is I was sitting here thinking as you were talking, I watched Bo Nix play 3 times this year. One time obviously was against my team. The second time was just recently against the Bengals. And I was like, bro, all you have to do is beat them. All you have to do. And whatever, they went to overtime, whatever. Like, he tried his hardest. And then I can't remember the other game I watched him, but you guys dominated the team. Whoever you guys blew out, I believe it was around like week 10 or 11 or something. There was a blowout that I watched him play in. And I thought, I've seen this kid. Well, I'm calling him a kid because I'm clearly older than him, but I've seen him play, obviously, my team, and he looked completely lost and confused about whatever we were throwing at him.
Blew out Atlanta 38-6, week 11.
What week was that? Okay, so I watched. It was Atlanta because I picked Atlanta to win the NFC South this year, and then they completely screwed up the draft and completely just messed up everything. So shame on you, Falcons. So I watched him play that game, and I was like, okay. So then I was excited to watch him play at the end, and then I was like, this is such a rookie performance.
Yeah.
Like, it was all over the place. So, but kudos to you. Like, you called that. So because you called that and you were so stuck in your convictions about that, did anything surprise you that wasn't that? Did anything else throughout the season surprise you?
The resurgence kind of Cortland Sutton. I didn't think that he would have a better year than what he had with Russ last year, to be honest. Now, I think this year he finished with 8 touchdown catches. Last year he had 10, but he was much more dependable, much like he had probably the second best year of his career this year with Bo Nix, and that was great to see. Marvin Mims was somebody that, this is his second year, but he just didn't seem like he had a role that fit him on the team. He was a late second-round pick for us, and somebody that I was starting to consider a bust, but really it was around that Atlanta game where Sean Peyton has started to kind of use him as a joker type in the backfield, getting him the ball in space quickly. And he's been on fire the second half of the season. And so it's nice to actually feel like, okay, maybe we don't need to totally blow out the entire skill position rooms after this offseason. We have a few guys that we can kind of keep around, but make no mistake, we still have the worst tight end room in football. Javonte Williams, as much as I love that dude, he is washed, and it's crazy. 4,200 all-purpose yards for Bo Nix, 34 total touchdowns, 12 turnovers.
He's done well.
Yeah, that will get you rookie of the year, I think, in most years. But Jaden Daniels had something to say about that this year. He rightfully deserves it, taking the Commanders to the playoffs. And so, he's been fantastic. There are also a couple of guys on defense that really surprised me. I think probably when we spoke over the summer, really flawed. I mentioned our edge room, how we didn't really have an alpha. And we kind of had a bunch of maybe guys. Robbins.
Y'all are the Denver Longhorns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we still are. But Nick Benito, third year out of Oklahoma, he absolutely took off this year. 11.5 sacks, I think, or 12.5. Jonathan Cooper, his counterpart, 7th round pick out of Ohio State a couple years ago, signed an extension with Denver this season, and 10.5 sacks. Jonah Ellis is coming along well. And Riley Moss, our great white corner, has been he's been fantastic opposite of Pat Surtain, who should win Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, white corner, he's getting thrown at all the time because no one
Hey,
wants to
there's a
throw at
couple of them.
PS2. Yeah, and he's been great. So yeah, Iowa, Cooper DeJean and Riley Moss, both Iowa Hawkeyes, both white corners. How about that? So yeah,
You know what I like about so one thing I like, I've realized that a lot of people don't love, and I've realized too, it makes me kind of like standoffish whenever people are talking about like he sucks, he's this, is the process and the time sometimes it takes people to get it. And I
yeah.
think I'm a process woman. Like I love a good process. I love, tell me what the end goal is and then let me work the plan. And it's so fun to see some of these guys. You saw them at the beginning and you're kind of like, I don't know what that was. And then over a while, you're like, do I trust him?
Yeah.
Oh my God, are we okay there? Wait, I really like him. I love that process of like, and then because next year you're going to be like, okay, is that the ceiling? Can these guys get better? You know, so
Yeah.
I love that process of sports watching. And I think some people, we talked about this a little bit before I hit record, some people are so extreme. You either suck or you're great. And there's not that time to allow people their ebbs and flows of like, figure out the game, figure out the defense, figure out if you're comfortable. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Especially in the NFL, I feel like coaches, even if you had a good year prior, like you're always kind of on the hot seat to an extent.
Yep.
It doesn't matter like how good you are. There might be a couple different exceptions to that, but really everybody's on the hot seat. But I think when you talk about the ebbs and flows, finding their footing, I think it took a while for Sean Peyton to figure out his
I agree.
play calling with this young core. We've had a 7th round rookie that's also starting at wide receiver for us this year, Devon Vele, 26 years
Oh, I didn't know
old.
that. Okay. What number is
Yeah,
he?
17. So
Okay. Okay.
him and Sutton start on the outside. Mims, 19, has been featured a lot. But yeah, and I think with Bo too, it's kind of trying to find that balance of what's everything that he can take on,
Yes.
what is putting too much on him as a young quarterback. And I think, again, kind of around the halfway point of the season, you saw the utilization of the players become better. And I almost felt like we saw that thing kind of last year too, kind of opposite with Russ, where it was, hey, we're going to throw the ball around a ton. We're going to see like maybe what the winning formula is not. And then we'll kind of find the brand of football that we need to play in the second half of the season. And that's when we won 5 games. We weren't scoring a ton of points, but it was the right formula for what we needed. And is kind of very similar here with Sean Payton. Hopefully now having experience with these guys, young guys this year, hopefully we won't see that kind of ramp up period that was needed this year.
I wonder at Sean Payton how he would evaluate. Like I've always said I would love to talk to an NFL like coach, former NFL coach, because I'm always interested to see their big plan, and then I'm able to see it. You know what I mean? Like because sometimes I think as fans we see it one way, but the coach might be thinking something else, and the coach is like, "This is the plan all along," but fans just don't know the plan. And I'm like, I would love to know somebody's plan one day, and then to be able to go back and see the plan working itself out. So, I mean, I'll speak into
I really
existence.
wonder, like, when he's sitting down, and sorry, I didn't complete this thought. I was saying, like, fans, we're not always as patient with the head coaches. So
Correct.
It's like, man, if these guys aren't calling good games, maybe the players just suck if you like Sean Payton or, vice versa, depending on if you don't like them. But I really do wonder like what the conversations have looked like behind closed doors with the ownership group of kind of what the realistic expectation should be. But people forget it wasn't just Russ with the dead money this year. Yeah, he was $53 million.
It was a lot of it.
Part of it. But we had a total of $89 million in dead money.
Who else were y'all paying?
Yeah. A lot of dudes that we've cut over the last couple of years.
Wow.
So about a third of our salary cap was just unusable this year. And the fact that we won 10 games,
that's amazing.
I don't care. It was against the JV squad at the end, man, with the Chiefs. I think we over exceeded. If Sean Payton it's just hard for me to see him selling and saying, I'm promising you, we move off of Russ with a rookie quarterback, we're reaching the playoffs in the first year. I just don't think that, like, even he would probably say that to expect it. So it's cool to see.
Yeah. Especially, and you all are one of the divisions like the NFC North that have 3 teams in the playoffs. So it's you all, Kansas City, and the Chargers. And I remember in the offseason, I was like, the only division I can't call is the AFC West because I have no clue what they're going to do. I'm like, I don't know if Denver's going to be good. I don't know if the Chargers are going to be good. The Raiders, I didn't know. So it's kind of funny how that worked out. The one division I was like, I don't even know what this is going to be. Turns out to be the division that gets 3 teams in the AFC. So
yeah, this is my fear right now. Just it being a long-term gauntlet with the coaches that are there. I saw Antonio Pierce just got fired. So, I mean, we'll see what the Raiders do. I'm not.
Yeah, they're going to bring in Coach Prime.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be Coach Prime. He'll want to come coach against Sean Payton, Andy Reid, and Jim Harbaugh, 6 times a year.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah. Or just a toxic microwave owner. Yeah.
And go against like the 3 quarterbacks that you have to go against now too. Like, why would you not want to do that? Like, sounds great. So, defenses are so phenomenal. Like, come on. So what do you think? What do you think the biggest strength is of your team? Like when you think about you all, so this is an interesting question, I think, for you, because I think some teams dominate on one side of the ball or dominate in one position. That's who they are. But I think whenever you're in a year kind of like you all, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what you're going to say.
Well, it kind of depends on what the game is. Like for most of the season, we've had a really good defense. And then we went through like a 3-game stretch where we were like the worst defense in football. Like it was very strange. And is that all because Riley Moss, our white cornerback, is out? And all of a sudden Vance Joseph doesn't know how to call a defense? Like
I keep forgetting that Vance Joseph is y'all's defense coordinator. How long has he been there?
2 years. He's doing great.
Okay. So he was there last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Where was he before?
Arizona.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
But I would say probably like the most reliable part of our team has probably just been the turnover generation and the pass rush. We have 3 really good pass rushers, or I think maybe 2, sometimes 3 if Jonathan Cooper's like killing it. But Nick Bonino, like I said, one of the close to being the sack leader, not the sack leader, but I think top 5 in the NFL. Zach Allen from the interior. He's kind of our Chris Jones type of guy. And he was close to generating double-digit sacks from the interior this year. I think he'll be named to an all-pro team. And then again, when you're, 1B edge rusher still had double-digit sacks and Jonathan Cooper, I think that's great. So that's going to be really key for us. I would say, sorry if I'm taking your question away from you, but our weakness has just been the running game. People are.
This is your show. I'm just here to facilitate all the questions. So go for it.
People have this misconception that Denver has ran well with Bo Nix. No. Bo Nix has probably been our most reliable rusher, and he hasn't always used his legs every game. We did not have in the 17-game season, really flawed. We did not have one 100-yard rusher.
Ever?
On the season. So,
how many yards did he finish with?
I'll pull this up.
Sorry.
No, I had it open here on a tab in case.
That's actually a really interesting fact.
Yeah, so here are our leading rushers. Javonte Williams had 513 yards, 3.7 yards on average, and he has now finally started to be phased out because his vision just isn't there. Jaleel McLaughlin, who's come along the last maybe 4 or 5 games, 496 yards, and 4.4 average. But again, we haven't seen him. Most of those 500 or so yards that he has came in the last 6-7 games of the season. Bo Nix is 3rd on the team with 430 yards.
He has 430 yards?
Yeah. So, he passed for almost 8,300 yards and had another 430 on the ground. So he's a true
he
dual
has
threat.
8,300 passing yards?
Or 3,800, sorry.
Oh, I was like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I did
over
not realize
4,200
he was running
all-purpose
so
yards.
much.
Yeah, he's great. And he
He's
has
the
a
best
touchdown
offensive
catch.
weapon you all have.
Yeah. So again, like, we just haven't had like a reliable running game. I think Audric Estime has been fine, but he just hasn't been used a ton. Over the last couple of games he has, but he has 310 yards. I think we were trying to force this Javonte Williams thing. He's in a contract year. He's the highest paid back on the team. But his lack of vision and burst, he does run better in power than zone. And we've been trying to be more of a zone team, I think, coming into the year. But Sean Peyton has kind of moved away from that with Williams, with Estime. And McLaughlin is more of our zone guy. But, I mean, he's like 5'7". He's a tiny dude. We're drafting a running back this next year.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you guys might get hey, you should get Scattaboo, and then you'll have a white running back, and then you'll have a white corner, and you'll have the most skilled positions that are white in the NFL. I don't know if that's true. I'm just making that up as I go along. But
yeah, I think about it. All the white guys can start loving the Broncos. We'll draft Tyler Warren as well, and he can.
Yeah. Then it'll be, remember when there was the white team versus the black team? And they were trying to add players, like they were trying to figure out like which players to add to I think it was the linebacker position. I think like one of the positions, it was like, we need a white dude. We need a white dude. This was last year because somebody came out, I think it might've been a former Steelers player, came out and said something about the white guys and black dudes. And so the white dudes were like, well, cool, we'll make our own white team. And the black people were like, we'll make, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for like the Pro Bowl or whatever.
Yeah, and I can't remember who the white linebackers were because everyone was kind of like, well, y'all might have us at linebackers, but we have you guys at punter or something like that.
Not gonna lie, I would love to see a blacks versus whites all-star game. I know
that's and then because my thing is, it's just like everything. Like the jokes come out of like something really serious, but then it got kind of cool because then it started to be like. I think I could be wrong. Somebody's going to correct me. I thought it was the linebackers that the white team was going to struggle with. But then the black team was like, yeah, well, who's going to be our kicker? Like, how are we going to kick field goals? Like, we don't even have, and I think like at the time they're like, we don't even have an option. Like and so then, anyways, that was like a whole thing on Twitter for probably a solid month with people coming up with their rosters. So
that's interesting. Yeah, no black kicker.
There's none. I think the Steelers have a black punter this year.
Staff too.
Correct. That's what. Yeah. Like if you think about it, like if this country was emotionally mature enough to handle it, it would be very funny just to see it and have it play itself out. But we all know, like everybody's triggered, everybody's bothered. So
Yeah, there's a funny joke I would make for the title of this game, but I'll save it for off air.
Okay. I can only imagine what you're going to say. So we know that you all play the Bills.
Yes.
And usually I've asked everybody, like, who's the team you want to avoid? So we'll ask that question after you all beat the Bills, right? So what are your concerns playing the Bills? I mean, obviously they're the Bills. Obviously they can score a lot of points. What is your biggest concern, though? What is the one, like, if you all were to beat the Bills, what would you say you all did very well that were able to beat them?
Yeah. Well, I think they're the second highest scoring offense in the NFL right now. Like I was the first half against the Bengals looked great. And then when you look at the end of it, I mean, they had like 38 points or something like that. I know they went to overtime, but it was just drive after drive once Joe Burrow kind of got in that groove. And Josh Allen obviously is capable of doing the same things. So they got, James Cook, he's somebody that could provide issues for our linebackers, especially. We've been very healthy throughout the whole year. We lost one starter on offensive and defense combined. So we've been very, very healthy. It's just our inside linebacker, Alex Singleton's been out since like week 4. He played with an ACL tear through the whole game against the Bucs, and he's done. So we're a little bit thin at inside linebacker. and that could pose some issues for us, especially against James Cook, as well as their their duo of tight ends that they have.
Mm-hmm.
They're
How's the
I
weather
can't
going to
remember
be
them
that
right
day?
now, but the guy from Utah and then Dawson Knox that they have, those guys could provide us with some very difficult problems if we can't defend them successfully.
Doesn't look like either you guys will be dealing with heavy snow or anything. Just looks like it's
Nope.
supposed to be cold. Upper
Yeah.
20s, 5 to 15 miles an hour wind.
Yeah.
Which in
Yeah.
Buffalo, that's perfect football weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm really glad
This
there's
is
no weather,
perfect.
because I think, again, if this becomes a game where you just got to run the ball, um,
It's going to be a
and a
problem.
lot of playoff games become that. We are
Yeah,
not
I think.
built right now to win in the playoffs because, like I just said, we can stop
How
the run, but we can't run the ball.
I was going to say, yeah, okay. I was going to say, well, it will be interesting. I think how I feel about coaches sometimes they outsmart themselves.
Yeah.
Like all of us at home are like, run the ball, and then here they go passing the ball and everyone's like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the Bills game plan is, if they realize that they should run the ball or if they're like, Josh Allen might be MVP, we've got to throw it. So I don't know. I'm under the assumption of like, your advantage is running the ball. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Run the ball. Like with every single running back, like just line it up and run the ball. But obviously these coaches are like, nah, that's our advantage, but we don't want to do that. So
yeah, you're
don't know.
paying the man. I'm about to pay him, $750 million, over the next however many years. You're probably going to throw the ball more than you should. We're kind of built similarly to CU, and a fact of the fact that we are a terrible zone team. We play a lot of man coverage. We blitz and we play a lot of man coverage. So there's going to be opportunities for our spectacular secondary. I don't really feel like we have a weakness in our secondary, but when you play man a whole bunch, when you play
Yep.
cover one, you're just going to get burned from time to
You
time.
are.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it happens. So that's our brand of defense. And then again on offense, it's not an
What a
offensive line
terrible
issue.
kind of matchup to that, though, is Josh Allen.
Yeah, exactly. So like we're just gonna have to play out of our minds, and
Yeah,
hopefully we can get pressure on him. But yeah, on offense, it's like our offensive line has been great. Pass protection.
good
Bo
for them.
Nix is one of the best rated quarterbacks, starters in the NFL when it comes to pressure to sack ratio. Like he gets rid of the ball.
Look
He
at
has good
Bo.
like natural feel in the pocket. You've seen what that doesn't look like a little bit more this year. But yeah, like the issue, and we have a good run block win rate from the offensive line. Again, we have one of the highest paid offensive lines in the NFL. The problem is that we don't have running backs that can take advantage of that consistently,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So,
Well,
um,
I'll be cheering for Scattaboo for you all.
yeah,
Although I don't really know if he fits. I don't really know if he fits what you all are trying to do.
yeah, I kind of want a guy with a little bit more straight line speed. Like
Yeah,
he's
and
got
I
more
think he.
wiggle than people
Mm-hmm.
expect, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Give me a guy that I really like is Dylan Sampson. I also like Travion Henderson from Ohio
yeah.
State.
Uh,
Like him. Yeah.
oh, Ohio State. It's so funny. Yeah, how much I've watched Ohio State this year just because I had a sneaky suspicion that we would play them at some point.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting watching them play because there's some moments where I'm like, is this team serious? And there's other moments where I'm like, oh, this is the team. And there's other
Yeah.
moments I'm like, does the coach know they're playing a team that can't defend the like? So I don't know. So Ohio State, again, these coaches get cutesy, and then before you realize it, you're losing the game, and everyone's like, "How are they losing this game? What are they doing?" So
I'll
we'll
say
see.
this I'll say this, ever since I have a friend that is a beat reporter for Ohio State. So he told me this after they lost to Michigan.
Michigan.
Since then, Ryan Day has been doing the game planning on the offensive side of the
Mm.
ball rather than Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's still calling the
Well,
plays, but there's been more involvement there on Ryan Day. Maybe that's been the difference.
Yeah, because Chip Kelly, like, yeah. Sometimes I think, like, I say that because Sark does the same thing. Sometimes you outcoach your talent.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
the talent is telling you to do this one thing, and you're like, yeah, but it's really pretty when we do these double reverses. And it's like that, no, no, like come back. Like telling like giving Quinn a pass play when you know, need to milk the clock and go in to win the game, and he turns the ball over. Yes, it was Quinn's fault. Cool, got it.
Yeah.
But still, like, coach, take care of like the simple things. So I don't know. That's why, like, I can no longer call who's going to win any games ever, because if I'm honest, the only coach that I have seen this year and multiple years do everything that I think they should do has been Andy Reid, and I feel like it's been like that for like 4 seasons. He just does the right thing. I don't ever remember me looking at the Chiefs, thinking about like, Andy Reid, what are you doing? But I've done that with every single other coach. Sometimes they just
It's
get, I don't know
amazing
what
what
happens.
Patrick Mahomes can do. Because I thought Andy Reid was just as bad as a game manager as anybody else when he was.
And yeah, see, and
all that, yeah.
And maybe that's it. Maybe they're just the perfect combination. Maybe you're 100% right, because some of these other coaches, I'm like, we didn't even run the ball not one time, and there's less than 2 minutes to go in the game. Yeah. Okay. Like, whatever. Anyways,
it's amazing how these guys can't manage the clock. It's
I know. I always tell people, like, give me a job, $100,000. I'll be on the sideline and I'll be like, coach, you got to run the ball. You have 275 yards on the ground. Go run the ball, please. Coach, call a timeout. Okay. We're going into half. We have 3 timeouts. Use them. But, you know, whatever. So who do you want to avoid in the playoffs? So let's say you beat the Bills and you're moving. You know what I just realized, though? It's not going to work for you all because you're the 7th seed. So you're going to play.
Kind of talking about if we beat the Chiefs and get to the AFC title game, who we don't want to face. It's the Ravens. Like,
okay,
they destroyed us this year. We're a terrible matchup. We very much struggled defending Lamar Jackson, as many teams do. So
I don't know why the Steelers can figure it out. I don't know.
Because y'all are division opponents. Like,
we don't do anything special. It's just like, so I also believe in like the psychology of players sometimes. I think it's because the Steelers don't care that he's Lamar Jackson, because they see him all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that the Lamar Jackson wears off on them, and they're just kind of like, this is another team we have to play. We cannot stand these guys.
Well, hopefully we've turned that page with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, because we beat them last year, and then we were better on every play except the last one.
Isn't that crazy?
At the end, and then
and then you just destroyed them.
We obliterated them. They didn't even look like they wanted to be there. Yeah.
So okay, so $1 million question.
Yeah.
So 3 minutes after the Denver Broncos win the Super Bowl, and I call you and I'm like, oh my God, Dave, like, can you believe what the fuck just happened? And you're like, oh my God. And I say to you, how do you think Denver won? Like, if you win this Super Bowl, it will be because of what? What happened that didn't click, or what happened that clicked that allowed you all to go on this 4-game winning streak and win the Super Bowl?
Bo Nix just elevates himself to a new level. I mean, that's what's like, I think in order to do that, he's going to have to be a true dual threat in all of these games, for us to do that. It's been really great seeing Marvin Mims start to connect with Bo Nix down the field, because him and Troy Franklin, they haven't connected on a lot of deep balls down the field. Like, it's kind of been strange. Now you're starting to see that start to turn the corner against Cincinnati. Fun fact, a lot of people question Bo Nix's arm strength, zip on the ball, that he has the longest completed throw for air yards in the NFL this year. It happened on that deep 50-yard
perfectly thrown ball. To where only he could catch it.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the end zone, I think it was 61 air yards. And so if he's able to connect on some more of those deep shots to Mims, to Franklin, and it's not just Cortland Sutton, who had the most catches on go routes this year in the NFL, strangely enough, when he's not a separator. Very strange. Then maybe we can do it if he's also running for like 100 yards every game.
Yeah. So basically, he just kind of has to be like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson.
He has to be the entire offense. And then we can go get some weapons this year when cap
Yeah.
opening up. And we should
Yeah.
have about $70 million right now in cap space. So it should be a
That's
fun
such a
offseason.
luxury. I don't, and that's the other thing I always say about the NFL that I love is that a lot of people don't think about is the money. That's what makes it a business. Is
Yeah.
like, yeah, I want to go get that guy. Yeah, I want him, but I can't pay him 27 million. Like, so I have to go to the draft. I have to find other ways to like, make it work for my team. I love that
Yeah.
aspect. I didn't realize you all had so much money tied up though. You guys should have a really good off season then.
Yeah. It's kind of strange with the offseason that we're going into because I don't think there's going to be great wide receivers available. The running back free agency class looks terrible.
Yeah.
Like Najee Harris is probably the best one. But again, he's not what we need right now. We got Audric Estime, which he'll kind of be our bigger back goal line situations. And wide receiver, it's not very deep in the draft either. So I wouldn't mind getting some defensive linemen, offensive linemen in this draft with maybe even a couple tight ends and a couple running backs. I honestly, I would be okay if we just brought back Cortland Sutton. He has no guaranteed money next year, and he's on contract for like $14-15 million. That's a big bargain right now when T.
Yeah.
Higgins is probably wanting over 30 million. So
I can't see what
yeah,
I can't wait to see what Cincinnati does this offseason.
yeah.
Like,
I think it's terrible to have two wide receivers as like your top earners on the team. Like I just don't think it's good cap utilization.
that's why
Yeah,
they should have gotten that deal done
yeah,
before the year with
yeah,
Chase. Because
yeah,
now, I mean, he was a monster this year. Like
yeah,
now you
yeah,
have to pay him. Like
yeah,
you actually have to
yeah,
because he was that good. So it's didn't he win the triple crown? Didn't he get the triple crown this year?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, how do you say to that guy, actually, you're not worth top dollar?
yeah,
Excuse
yeah.
me?
He should be the highest paid. Another thing to watch out for this offseason, really flawed, is just the tight end group in general. Again, uh,
Is that your
I think we
weakest
could.
group besides the running backs?
Oh, it's terrible. Our starting tight end is Adam Troutman, bunch of other undrafted guys behind him. But this year, it would not surprise me again if we sign one or two in free agency, which there should be a handful available.
Mm.
What's his name? Jawan Johnson from New Orleans, or Mike Gesicki, for instance, from Cincinnati is a free agent. I doubt they'll be able to keep him. Um, you know, but the New Orleans Saints in general, they have still like $60-70 million that they need to cut or whatever. Like they're 60-70 million
The
over the
Saints
cap right
are
now
over
for next
too.
year.
It's
Yeah,
so funny. Because it's
yeah,
in season, I haven't even taken the time, to like do my
yeah,
Google searches and see where everybody else is at. But it's always interesting how things happen, and then you don't realize how that affects
yeah,
things. And then when you go look salary cap, you're like, that is why I'm so disappointed in the Falcons. Like
yeah. I know.
you
Nailed it.
had everything you could have had and everything you needed, and then you go sign Kirk Cousins, dumb. Then you draft another quarterback. I'm like, what are you guys doing? All the
Yeah,
things that you had, you ruined it. I was so pissed.
yeah. I
That's not
mean,
even my team, and I was just pissed because
just
I'm
made
like, how do you screw this?
no sense at all. No sense at all.
None.
But yeah, I think the Saints, because again, they're gonna have no talent. They have very little draft picks. Like I think that they could be if you want to throw some money on them going 0-17, I might do that, depending on
They're
what
gonna,
the odds. Yeah, because
yeah.
they're not going to be able to keep anybody like this year. So
That's
if
how, but
yeah,
I will say this. Remember, that's how the Bills were last year at the end of the year. Remember, they were over, like, that's why they had to let go of Micah Hyde
yeah,
and Jordan Poirier. They had to lose their center. That's
that's
why
true.
Stephon Diggs, like, they had to get rid of them because they were like, I think they were like 30 million or 40 million over the salary cap.
Thank God
So,
for
and then
Josh
they
Allen.
drafted, yeah, and
Yeah,
then they drafted well. And then here, I'm like, how, what?
yeah,
No
yeah.
way.
But I kind of
So,
want to see an 0-17 team just for the lulz. I think it would be funny. So
I don't know
Derek
if you'll
Carr,
get
tank
one.
commander. Let's get this thing
You think you'll get
going.
you think the NFL will allow an 0-17 team?
Well, they're
Because
not in
no
Detroit.
Yeah, but how long ago was that?
I don't know. Dan
Yeah.
Orlovsky's running out of bounds. I loved it. It's New Orleans.
Yeah, you never
Do
know.
people really care about the Saints? I mean, the Saints owners barely care about the Saints. Let's be honest.
They make a lot of questionable decisions. They're like the Atlanta Falcons to me.
Yeah,
I don't understand what they do
and
ever.
I don't blame Sean Payton for quitting on him.
Yeah,
Like
I don't understand what they
he
ever
knew
do.
this is what was coming up with how often they were pushing those contracts down the line.
Yeah. So anyway, sometimes though I'll watch the Saints and I'm like, I see it, and then like the next quarter, I'm like, oh, okay. So before we end this, is there anything else you want us to know about the Broncos? I always tell people that in the playoffs, you get college football fans, obviously, because there's nothing for them to watch. And then you get a lot of NFL fans that have been watching their teams all year that know nothing about the teams that they're about to watch in the playoffs. And then obviously they have a lot of opinions because they, whatever. Is there anything that, as somebody watching the Broncos, like what would you want people to know? Like I always tell people, like when you watch the Steelers, if it's not ugly, we're not going to win. And when I mean ugly, it has to be messy, right? Like we have to hold teams to field goals. We have to get a special team something or a random turnover. Like it has to be ugly. Then my team has a chance. Like that's kind of how we play football. What about the Broncos?
We're going to come in there playing carefree, like we don't have anything to lose. We can win football in some different ways. We've won low-scoring games. We've won high-scoring games. I don't really know what version you're going to get. I just hope that it's an entertaining version, and it's a very young team. Like we have one first-round draft pick on defense. That's Pat Surtain. We got a couple first-round picks, in being Bo Nix and our long-term tackle Garrett Bowles on offense, and that's it. A lot of guys in the skill positions again that were drafted day 3, undrafted.
You guys are like Arizona State in the college football playoffs. Like you're a Power 4, you're a team, but all your guys, like they might not be the best guys, but some of them might be.
They're overachieving. Like that's how it is. And the PFF rated us, even though they gave the Broncos draft grade an A, strangely enough, they rated the entire roster coming into the season as the worst roster in the league. So that has stuck with the team. They have talked about that throughout the season. And again, we had the second longest playoff drought, I think 8 or 9 seasons, whatever, since 2015 was, next to the New York Jets. So theirs is now going on 15 years now. So that
will continue probably.
Yeah, it will continue. So we are no longer associated with the New York Jets. We have owners that are rich and competent and have appointed Sean Payton to run the whole operation, and they don't meddle and bring up guys mad in ratings. It's wonderful.
I love that. So before we leave, I have to know, are you going with Texas or Ohio State?
I'll be rooting for Texas, but I'm going for Ohio State. But I'm going with Ohio State to win.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think
right now it just seems like it's the Big Ten's year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I always tell people I'm a fan, like that's my team. So I'm always going to cheer for my team, and everybody better hope my team loses. That's what I always say. Because if my team doesn't lose, I will be back. So, so it just kind of is what it is. And so it's like all year I was hoping we could beat Georgia, and we should have, but we didn't, but whatever. So it's kind of like that with Ohio State. Like everyone's like, Texas doesn't have a chance. Texas isn't that great. I'm like, okay, you might be right, but you better hope that you are.
Yeah. Texas is at the advantage right now. Again, all the pressure's on Ryan Day. He could still get fired after this. So.
Oh God. We're ending on that. Anyways, no, but seriously, thank you for chatting with me. And we'll see. Like, I'm interested to see what the Broncos do. You just never know with these games. And I'm curious. I'm going to go on record as saying too, I'm curious to see which Josh Allen shows up. And I'm curious to see which Sean McDermott, I think that's their head coach. I'm curious to see which version of him shows up too. Cause sometimes he does things where I'm like, bro, what are we doing? So we'll see. If it's a tight game, I trust Sean Peyton more than I trust Sean McDermott, and that says a lot.
Okay. All right, cool. Battle of the Seans. We'll see what version of the Broncos we get to show up. But even if we get absolutely destroyed, A+ year.
Yeah. There's
We
always that
weren't supposed to be
possibility.
here.
Yeah, it's the Bills. You know what? It is the Bills. So, anyways, and can we just both agree that the NFL would collectively lose their crap if Denver beat the Bills? Like they would cry that night if that
If we beat the Bills,
happens.
I'll say this: if we beat the Bills, we'll beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. We'll do it.
Well, the whole world will be cheering for you because you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks
too.
Oh gosh. Yeah, there's that. They always have that advantage. Thanks for joining me.
Of course. Thank you so much. Let's get together once the off season hits.
Yeah, when the real craziness starts. Yeah. All right, chat soon.